Building a pretty big part of this game, and well, a lot of people love to build and share their awesome ideas and build with this community. So I'm a pretty small YouTuber, but I think that I have done a decent amount of builds that I can give you some kind of a tips or maybe some kind of an advice for building better in Minecraft. Now, I've done this video in a request over on my Instagram on how to be better at building, and well, I think that I got it run down to a textbook step by step because well, I've gone over 5 of those scripts to create this. I'm really picky. So with that, the three things that I will be talking about in this video are block theory, planning and shape, details, decoration and design. And well, those are the things that I usually go over in my head, not necessarily practicing them every single and each time, but the things that I just have some kind of, let's say, step-by-step thing that I do before I start building. With that, I can only say that this can maybe only be used for structures. I'm not pretty sure because, well, I've never done any kind of organics or extreme terraforming. So with that, let's start with block theory. So block theory may sound a little bit familiar, and well, that's because it stems from the idea of color theory. So it will work and function a little bit differently in Minecraft because well, we are not working with flat colors like when we are using color theory. We are working also with the materials of our blocks and the textures of the blocks as well. Now, I don't have everything set in stone, but my general idea would be to ignore every single block that's not a full block, so everything from slabs, stairs, and almost all of the decoration blocks that you can use, and strictly focus on the building blocks or the full blocks in this case. Trying to roughly familiarize yourself with the block's colors and textures, and well, you can do that in many different ways. You can lay them down in front of yourself like this, where you will maybe using a building blocks section in a creative menu and just laying them down one by one and ignoring the slabs and the stairs of the blocks. And then you will have a nice view of a single block in a game. You can also maybe create some kind of a palette like this, where you will be focusing on the colors of the blocks and well, maybe a little bit the textures of the blocks as well. And maybe that will give you a little bit of a better idea how every single box works together and what blocks you can use together and what blocks maybe wouldn't fit together as much. Now, the best way to practice creating block palettes, I would say, is to take a build from any good Minecraft builder from YouTube or Instagram, let's say, and try to dissect the build and create a block palette from that build. For example, here we have one of my old builds over here, and we can immediately see the front face, where in front face we are using a lot of stone, and in this case the predominant block is the stone bricks, while the other stone blocks are our texturizing block, so we can immediately place them behind our stone bricks, for example here, here and here. After that, we can see that we are using stripped spruce logs to create a frame for our build. And we are ignoring every single trapdoor and a barrel because this is the detailing block, so placing it next to our stone bricks. After that, we can see on the side that we are using a lot of oak planks and some stripped oak wood to texturize. So oak planks are our core blocks, while stripped oak wood is our texturizing. After that, we go to the roof, where we can see that we are using red terracotta and red concrete powder. We immediately see that there is a predominance of the red terracotta, so that is our core block, so we can place it here with our red concrete powder as our texturizing. After that, some of you may be confused as what is the next block. It's all, and one of the blocks that you can miss is the frame roof block, which in this case is the spruce. So the spruce is also our core block. Now, in this case, as you can see, we are ignoring the detailing things like that gear over there that's made out of the polished andesite. Maybe some detailing parts over here, for example, that's made out of our cobblestone and so on, as we are just focusing on what the build is made out of, not the details and everything else. So with that, we have a nice block palette for the build, and well, we can start planning our build, and that is the next part of the talk in this video, which is planning and shape. Planning and shape is like sketching your builds to give you a vague idea of how they will look like. Now, the best and easiest way to plan out your builds is to create a layout of it, and you can use any blocks you like to do so. I like to use the wool blocks, or sometimes the blocks I will be building with, in a case of playing in survival. Now, the wool blocks are the best blocks to use for this, because there is a lot of different colors you can use to indicate different things in your layout. Now, sketching your builds, or in this case creating a layout for your build, is very important for creating a good build, because if you can plan out a good layout for your build, you will have a good foundation or a stepping stone from which you can start building and using your chosen block palette. Now, this is something I recommend you take your time and practice it a bit. So, using and creating some random layouts for your build ideas. So you can start by creating diagonals, some kind of weird shape, maybe some circles, or maybe something in between. And every single one of those will give you a feel of how big certain things need to be and what things you need to do to create certain stuff. Now, I have a little advice for more unexperienced builders, which is try to work with odd numbers, because, well, it's way easier to make something symmetrical look nice rather than working with even numbers where it's really hard to sometimes make it look good. So what do shapes have to do with all this? Well, when building, you're essentially creating and using simple shapes to create a unique shape for your build. And well, this is something that many people seem to forget when building. So if your build doesn't have right proportions and your simple shapes are just not working together as you place them in the way that you place them, your build isn't gonna look good, and well, you're just gonna have a hard time trying to detail it and maybe trying to make it work. So if you cannot easily visualize your builds, how will they look like? Maybe try by creating simple shapes first. So maybe some kind of a simple square or a box, or maybe a bigger box, maybe some kind of a cylinder, or maybe some kind of a sphere, and then try to place them together until you get something that looks good. So the best example to show the benefit of this is on roof, let's say. So we have so many different shapes and designs for the roofs that by just knowing the basic shape of the roof will help you decide on what roof will fit perfectly on your build. And well, that is where knowing your shapes is really helpful. So to cap it all off together, at the beginning we are creating guidelines for our build in the form of a layout. Then we are creating simple shapes that we are going to use in the build in a form of, let's say, some kind of a cube or a square, and a roof that we are going to be using. Then we are putting them together to make a simple and a unique shape, for example over here. And right after you've done with that, you can try and play with some kind of a depth, for example giving some kind of a pop out, having some stuff out by block, or having some stuff in by one block. And well, you are essentially preparing yourself to add some kind of decorations, details and designs. So let's talk about that right now. Details, decoration and design. This is a final stage of the building process, and well, this is a part where most of the magic happens, as you are giving quote-unquote character to your build and you're making it look beautiful and interesting. Now, for this we are again gonna need to familiarize ourselves with most of the blocks we've neglected in our block theory over there at the beginning. And well, there is so many blocks and so many different ways you can use them that you can almost write an encyclopedia about it. So we are actually not gonna focus on them separately, we are gonna focus them together, as most of the times they come together to form some kind of a design. As you can see, they work here together, a lot of spruce things works together to form this really interesting but simple looking, let's say, front face of the house, for example. As well as over here, as you can see, using a lot of detailing to give it that little bit of a pop out, and well, they're just working together. Now, so the best way to show you that is again through roof. So here we have a simple roof design over here, and well, just depending on how you build that simple shape of the roof will give you a different effect. As you can see, here we use some stairs and a trapdoor, and here we use stair, block, stair. Now, even also what kind of blocks you use to build the roof, as you can see here, here, and here. Even maybe what kind of a pick you give to that roof. For example, even if you're using anvils, for example, or maybe giving it more of a more of a pointy rooftop, and even if it is 2 blocks out or 1 block out, so that you can give it a little bit more detail inside, for example here, and even using a log, for example, over here. That all can change the look of your roof. Even though we are using the simple shape, we are creating 4 different roofs. Now, here comes where and how you can exercise this. You can practice this by limiting yourself to a certain number of detailing blocks that you can use for your build. So for example, in the case of this roof, I've only used those blocks to create 4 different designs for my roof. And well, they all came out nicely. Now, there is also more ways to practice this. Maybe you can go on and look at something that someone else has built, maybe some kind of tutorial, and maybe use a little bit of a different blocks to create something similar, as you can see here. Now, also you can just go on and create an unbridled mess using almost everything you can think of, and well, maybe you come up with something that you really like, and then you can just separate it from everything else and maybe use it in some other build later. Now, there is one final part that you may come up when doing an unbridled mess or something like this, which is something that can stand alone without the need or support of the build to support its existence. That is decorating. So in this case, decorating can be a lamp, or decorations, actually, not decorating. Decorations can be a lamp, can be any kind of pot, or maybe just a simple drawer design. And well, those are the things that can stand alone. You don't need anything next to this lamp to signify that this is a lamp that will kind of shine over some kind of a road or something like that. And well, in this case, the community, the big community of Minecraft comes into play, because well, there is so many things. And now I hope this was helpful, as we are at the end of this video, and well, I could talk about each of those categories a bit more, because well, there is more to talk about at each of the categories we introduced over here, and I could make a separate video for each of them. But I think I did a pretty good job at trying to squeeze it all into one video. Now, I will give you this oak button, and I wish you happy building, and well, I'm lujoBoy. Have a nice rest of your day.